Shabbat Shalom to all of you. Today, the Shabbat, we have a double parashot. We have Achare and we have Kedoshim. Very important in my understanding of teaching that come from the Torah. And it's about, in Achare we are going to see about the institution or the developing of the idea of Yom HaKippurim, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement that's translated. You know, I call it more the Day of Covering, the day in which we are coming to make it right with the Creator. The other part, the second parashot, is Kedoshim. Kedoshim means sanctification, or being. Now, I will emphasize in this at this time between chapter 18 and chapter 19, between the two parashot. Usually, when we divide the scriptures in parts and portions, we have the tendency to discontinue. We finish the first, the parasha, and then we start a new parasha. And we don't take in context that where it's coming from. You know, and we separate it, and we make a study, we make statements, almost that one is divorced from the other. And these separations are totally man-made. It's no, the Torah is continuity. Then let me prepare you. If we go to Leviticus, Vayikra has the book of Leviticus. And let's go to chapter 18. Okay? I'm going to read only the beginning of the verses and then at the end of chapter 18. Okay? I want to start with verse 1. Adonai spoke to Moshe and said, "Speak to the Israelites and say, I am Adonai, your God. You must not behave," listen carefully, "you must not behave as they do in Egypt, where you used to live." Already the Creator is telling Israel, you have a lot of things from Egypt. Okay, there is no my invention or anything like that. He's telling them. And then he said, where you used to live. And you must not behave as they do in Canaan, where I am taking you, nor must you follow their statutes or their ways. You must observe my customs and keep my Torah and follow them. More clear? I don't know. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand this simple thing, no? In other words, do not imitate others who are going to take you to the wrong way. Follow my teachings, and you are going to be living okay. Today, sadly enough, I mentioned this before, today we have lost our identity as human beings. Most of us, we are only imitators. And we are looking at others, how they dress, they look, and we dress, and we do everything that is fashion. You know? Have you seen now the new haircut? Shave here, you know? Oh, that's very nice for the young people. But when you see a middle-aged man like this, you say, this guy doesn't have his own personality. Have you seen how they dress today? You know, the pants, I don't know how they put inside, you know, and they so tight, you know, and I don't know how they walk. But that's it, you know. And when I tell them I like my pants very young, they say, you are out of shape or out of fashion. Well, I am not fashion. Because I am here to follow men. I am here to follow the Creator. Remember Jeremiah Hanabi. Cursed be the name who follows man. Blessed name who follows the Creator. Blessed be. Okay? Now, the end of chapter 18. Verses 26 down. You, however, must keep my Torah and my and do not do any of these hateful things, none of your citizens, nor of your residents, aliens. Look at how inclusive is the Creator. If you don't feel that you are part of Israel, but you are with the people of Israel, follow Israel. Okay? There are many of you that you are not Israelites, many of you that you are not Jewish, many of you you have a special desire to be part of Israel, but you cannot follow all the Israel things. You know, many of you are not circumcised, for example. But doesn't mean that you do not need to follow the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. No? Then, they say, do not do these hateful things that are done with the people who live in the country before you, and the country became unclean. If you make it unclean, will it not vomit you is vomited out of the nations there before you? Yes, anyone who does any of these hateful things, whatever it may be, any person doing so will be outlawed from his people. So keep my rules and do not observe any of the hateful customs, any of the hateful rules which were forced before you came. Then you will not be made unclean by them. I am Adonai your God. More clear. This I am Adonai your God is going to be repeated many times. But here it's very important. Let me make it this. Today we see Israel, the country Israel, our country, that we love it so much. But many of us, we are crying out at what is happening in Israel. Because the problem is that you have, we call it extra religious people, or totally, what do you call it, very, very religious, ultra-Orthodox, that the religiosity it has become most of the people dislike them more and more because they are pushing things the Creator has not asked us to do. You know, they're forcible. And they look down to other people. That's what I was talking about. Being religious, you think you are closer to the Creator, better than anybody, and you start looking down everybody else. And they look the rest of the people of Israel down, and they don't like to be the rest of the Israel, the secular people, they don't like to be looked down upon themselves, and they react against the religious people. And the problem is that reacting against the religious people, they are throwing the baby with the throwing the baby out with the bad water. Thank you. I like this, but I have difficult to say. Okay? And then what they do, most of the secular, these people, ultra-Orthodox, are the true representatives of that God. Who wants that God? That's religiosity. Okay? That is fanaticism. Also, we need to see here, this is important, Israel. Israel has lost its identity. Israel is coming back to the same thing that happened in 1 Samuel. When Samuel, the prophet, was asked by his people, give us a king, give us a king. And Samuel goes back to the Creator and say, they are asking me to get a king. He said, do not worry. The Creator answered to Samuel, do not worry, Samuel. They are not rejecting you. They are rejecting me. That's Israel. Okay? Every time that Israel wants to be like the other nations, The only thing that they are doing is rejecting the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Israel was born to be unique, not to be like anybody else. Israel needs to be different. And here it comes, chapter 19. And Adonai spoke to Moses and said, speak to the whole community of Israelites and say, you shall be holy because I am your God, holy. This translation, there are some that say, he say, you are holy because I will be holy or I am holy. They give the emphasis like, I, as a person, when I become holy, I make God holy. The Creator depends on me. You see how the words, and also in other translations, in other works, they have changed this. Instead to use the word holy or separated, they have used the word perfect or perfection, what has nothing to do one with the other. Well, this is important to understand. And then how he continued. Listen carefully. Because I am holy, your God. And each one shall respect father and mother and keep the Shabbat. He's going to start with what? The 10 Commandments. Because the three first is about who I am. And the 10 Commandments. This is the basic institution on understanding. Like, again, let me repeat. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand these simple things that the Creator has done. But here is coming the theological discussions and confusion for the rest of the world. The word holy. You see, we have emphasized in the word holy as that the word who describes us, instead to know what really holy means and what it's going to describe to. Holy is only an adjective. We put it in that way. And to be holy to what? And in other words, it is, the word holy means you are going to be separated or set apart. To what? To what you are holy. Do you know that you can be holy to evil? I am totally holy. Let me go, before I continue, only to give you my point. Let's go to Devarim, Deuteronomy, chapter 23. I hope they found it. 23. Okay. Devarim. Verse 18 in the Hebrew Bible, in the Christian Bibles, in other Bibles is 17, but here is 18 in the Hebrew. I'm going to find it here too. Okay. Lotijet Kedasha Mivenot Yisrael. In English. There must not be prostitutes among the women of Israel, or your daughters of Israel. And the word prostitute, you know what is the word prostitute? Kedasha. From the word kadosh. But continue. Belogic je Kadesh. Midnei Israel. In English? And no prostitutes among the men of Israel. In some translations, they call it sacred prostitutes because of the kadosh, because they do not understand the word kadesh. Then you can be separated to prostitution, what is evil, or you can be separated to the Creator. Then let's go back to Leviticus chapter 19. If we are holy, to whom we are holy? I have my people when they're holy, oh, he's a saint. Has a circle here in the head. Now here in Montreal, we have more saints than people. No? Okay, everybody's a saint. And what it means is somebody who identifies with behavior or something that they create, that they're living in. And what behavior, attitude, what represents the Creator? Here is the idea that I want to share with you. I call it integrity. I call it morality. Moral values. Be integral. Being full of the presence of the Creator, doing what is right in His sight. Do what is right on His sight. You see, closer you are to the Creator, your conduct of life change. And you are set apart because of what the Creator is doing in your life and showing you areas that you need to stop. And one of the basic ideas is about you start with honoring father and mother. Then you say you need to keep the Shabbat. Not to honor the Creator. The Creator doesn't need our honor. To keep the Shabbat in order that you keep yourself in well-being. Your health, your family, all together are okay. Because after that, He's going to tell you the things that you don't need to do. Imitating the Egyptians, imitating the Canaanites, imitating the world today. You see, morality today has gone down to the swamp. Morality has lost a meaning. Today we teach that everything is okay. You are okay, I am okay, everybody's okay. Today we don't have the right to make judgment about behaviors. Today we cannot qualify different types of behaviors that are immoral. Today we don't have the right to say this is wrong and this is right. Because the government and certain little groups of people push you to do what they tell you to do, even that is immoral in your own understanding. Because we are coming to a society that is becoming amoral. Immoral is to go against what is moral. But amoral is total lack of morality. At least if you are immoral, you know that you're doing wrong. But if you are amoral, you don't even can see the difference between right and wrong. And that's what's happening in Israel as an example of all the nations of the world. Our turpitude of seeing with the eyes that the Creator has given us to differentiate right and wrong, what is moral and what is immoral. We call Israel that has the most moral army in the world. They have the most moral people that help everybody. And sounds very good. But at the same time, we are accepting behaviors that are destructive to the society. And we call ourselves, we are open-minded. Mira, look, we are like other societies in Europe or in America. Like that is the wonderful thing to do. And that's when you become a bad imitator. That you imitate the wrong things instead to imitate the right things. What do you think? There is almost a parallel between being holy and being chosen. Because when you are chosen, you are going to follow certain morality, certain type of behavior. And you belong to the Creator, there are certain behaviors that are not allowed for us to do. We cannot be like the other people. And the differentiation today is not about what do we eat. And it's not so much about how we dress. The differentiation today to us is what it comes out of our heart through our mouths. What it comes and we do things. That's what our teacher, our Rabbi Yashuv, tried to bring it to his people. Don't worry about all the paraphernalia that is going to make you to look like you are better than the others or you are different than the others. Don't worry about the uniform. Worry about what comes out of your mouth. Worry about what do you do in life. Worry about Sadek, Tirdov Sadek. Justice. Follow justice. Pursue justice. That's what the Creator is teaching us today about being holy. Holy is not, to again repeat, is not a circle on your head or you are better than the others. Or that you put yourself in a place of higher than anybody else. Totally the contrary. When you really are walking with God, you become one of the humblest people on the earth, as our teacher, Moshe Rabbeinu, as our teacher, Rabbi Yeshua. They knew about being humble, because any time that you get closer to the Creator, you realize the distance that is between you and Him. And it wouldn't be because of Him, you will never Him. But when you are full of yourself, not only you think that you have reached it, but you have passed it. And you thrown yourself. And that's what religion does to people. They make them believe they're better than the others. But when you truly, truly follow God, you realize about your shortcomings. You realize about your areas that you need to work on it. You realize that your teshuvah is genuine. Coming back to the Creator. It's so easy to be holier than thou. When we need to eat our humble pie sometimes. And we need to understand that the Creator has asked us not but to imitate what is good. Let me ask you this simple question. We just came out of Egypt and we go to Canaan. Which of the two sides you are imitating? You know, I want to give you simple ideas here. Don't follow Moloch, saying. What a Moloch means? You know, the killing of the children to their gods. What they that most of the people has lost, even They don't have even the concept of before birth. You know, abortion is on demand. The unborn babies, because they cannot deal with this. You know what is interesting about the law, especially in the Western countries? If you kill a woman, doesn't matter how long has been pregnant, 2 killings. But you can kill the baby, and that you don't go to jail. About morality, what is right and wrong? The Creator made Adam and Eve. Didn't make Adam and Steve. And what is the problem? If you dare to say something, you are punished. And there's no hate there. You know, I have the right to believe in my way without doing damage to others. But the others don't have the right to do damage on me either. If they want to practice any type of behavior that I call immoral, they have the right to practice. What they don't have the right is to impose on me their immorality. And this is the problem that we are suffering today. People say, what's wrong? Everybody loves each other. I cannot argue with them that they love each other. That's not my problem. They can keep loving each other until they die. That's the problem. But don't impose me your love on me. And this is why we are going down to the drain. We are going to the swamp. You know, I remember that the American President Trump, he said, I'm going to clean the swamp. Because that was supposedly Washington is a place where the corruption is. The politicians. Let me tell you, the sword is all over us. We are totally contaminated by the sword. That's the reason that we are different, because we realize that we do not want to be part of the sword. But at any time that we crime, you cannot say the truth. It's a hate crime. Placing the true morality that the Creator has given to us, integrity. That's what he call it. You shall be separated because I am set apart. You need to follow me, not follow I. And how many times, look at how many times he say, I am the Lord. He say, if you offer a communion sacrifice to the Lord, make it in such a way as to be acceptable. You will live because I am Adonai, your God. Because all the time, because I am 15 times you're going to see here, I am Adonai, your God, in one chapter. The reason that we do certain things, because I am Adonai, your God, say the Lord. Blessed be his name. I am tired that most of us, we play religion. We play holier than thou. And we play that I am better than you are. I have seen even here in this community, sometimes people say, oh, I am not like them. Give me a break. What do you think? You are better than them? I am holy than them. I don't do what they do. Maybe you don't do what they do, but maybe you do other things that they don't do. Don't put yourself in a pedestal. Totally the contrary. And Rabbi Yashuv dice, humble ourselves before the Lord. We need to humble ourselves. And to humbling yourself, the only way that you can see is when you are close to the Creator. The only way that you can be responsible is you are free. And a slave doesn't have responsibility. Only a free person be responsible. Now let me end it. Are you following anything that comes from others? Are you an imitator of others instead to be imitator of the Creator? Or doing what the Creator teaches and show you about what is integrity and morality? Because these passages is about integrity and morality, to live a right life, not to do evil to yourself, and participate in the goodwill of everybody else. Shabbat Shalom.
We are always so blessed to have the messages from our rabbi. And I didn't take any notes, but I'm sure there's a lot that you have to say about what some of you have heard today. Miriam, did you write anything down?
I mean, a lot of it was it's just all true, and there's nothing so-called controversial, obviously. But one of the things that just hit me, and it's so obvious, but sometimes it hits us again, like just, for example, doing what's right, or well, I'm thinking specifically of the Shabbat, but any of the things like any of the Ten Commandments and how we walk with God, it's really it comes from whether we have a relationship with God. It has nothing to do with God. Obviously, we know this. It's so obvious. God doesn't need us to keep the Shabbat because he's proud and you're dishonoring me if you don't. It's nothing like ego. It's nothing about that. It's for us. So when we don't keep it, like I don't know, it just hit me. I'm not doing it for God. I'm doing it to show it's an ultra demonstration of really my belief in God setting apart this day. And we hurt ourselves when we don't do it. It's not because you're not doing it that you're being disobedient. It comes from the root of it is that, are you walking with God or not?
Exactly. This is what he said. This is what he said in Leviticus 19, because he said, remember, Rabbi said it was repeated, be holy as I am holy, 15 times.
Right.
And holiness is set apart, as he said. Set apart to what? Are we set apart to good, or are we set apart to evil? And the first two things that he mentioned was honor mother and father and keep the Shabbat. Those are the middle two commandments. And the middle two commandments were about loving ourselves. It's all about, we do it for us. Last night I was thinking, am I keeping Shabbat the way God would want me to keep Shabbat? So I went and I did a search. What does the Torah say about keeping Shabbat? And basically the only thing that it says is don't work. Don't make your slaves work. Don't make your servants work. Don't let anybody work. It's just a show, because the Shabbat is a sign that God exists and that he set us free. And just the thought of that should be enough to just bring us joy and say, okay, that's what I'm going to do. All these other extra religions and extra rules and regulations take us away from just the simple fact that he exists and that we are not our own gods. And it's so beautiful.
Well, I guess the main thing it's hit me before, but just hits me again at different times, is that the act of keeping Shabbat, like let's say we don't keep the Shabbat and we're guilty, let's say, but we have to look at, it's not the keeping or not keeping of Shabbat. Are you walking with God or not? That's what the question is.
Yes.
It's just another sign of your relationship. So, so people who I've met who are so strict, like I told you, somebody who wouldn't even, well, she doesn't do it anymore. It doesn't matter, but she has a dog, and she would give it to a neighbor, a Gentile neighbor, because you don't work on the Shabbat. What's that mean? What's that have to do with anything? You think God wants your dogs to go somewhere else? What's it have to do with?
Exactly.
So it's about what comes out of us. What does it mean keeping the Shabbat? Like, oh, if I don't do this, it's all about the root of us.
Do you remember Fiddler on the Roof?
Yeah.
And Tevye was constantly challenged by his daughters. But it had to do with breaking away from tradition.
Right.
And what is tradition? Tradition are the man-made rules and regulations that dictate to us how we're supposed to live. So, and the final one that he couldn't accept was that his last daughter would have married a Gentile behind his back.
Right.
But if you look at the Torah doesn't say that. Because if a Gentile, and Rabbi spoke about that, if a Gentile loves the God of Israel, and like Ruth left all the paganism of the Moabites and followed Naomi. She followed some of the traditions, but she was following the God of Israel. We're not in love with Israel, but with the God of Israel, because as Israel, we're just people. So, one of the things that he says, if I bend that much, I will break. The issue is not about breaking because we're not keeping man's rules and regulations, but what happens to us when we break because we're not keeping God's rules. And that's what our biggest job is, our work every single day is, what choices am I making today? There's so many choices that we're
Yeah, it's
given
every
in
day.
every single day. We have choices. They're like, years ago I sat on a pro-choice panel, and there were a bunch of educated experts, and we were talking about abortion. And in those days, I sat on pro-choice. I believed that the baby was not a baby, it was just a bunch of cells. That's what I was taught, that's what I understood, and that this fetus could be gotten rid of, and there would be, and there was a long discussion on it. And then something hit me. And no, I didn't speak throughout the whole time. We were interviewed by people on the radio, by an interviewer on the radio, and I didn't say one word because everybody else were experts, and I didn't know what to say. But something entered my brain. What if there was another way? And so the interviewer asked me, because she hadn't heard from me the whole time, and I said those words. I don't know what sparked them, but that was how she closed the program. Is there another way? And what the Torah gives us is the way. Like, 'cause it began that way. If you noticed right at the beginning of the in I think it was 16, he told Aaron, you are not to go into the Holy of Holies at just any time. I'm going to tell you how to do it. So we don't know the way, how to live, but our choices are easier when we read the Torah and understand it according to what God is trying to show us. It's like the Shabbat is not a mystical, magical day where, they make it into, you light the lights and your house becomes this sanctuary, and you have nothing to do with the rest of the world. You turn off everything, and the Gentile comes in and opens your light and tears your toilet paper, and you can't cook. And basically the only thing he's saying to us, I'm giving it to you because I'm giving it to you as a sign that I exist and you're not alone.
And that's the most, if you want to use the word, mystical.
Yes.
The fact that God exists in itself is such a basic, so many people say, do all sorts of things, but they don't have this, they don't realize this is about God.
Yes.
And I was thinking another thing, when God set apart us as a people, and when we say, keep the Shabbat, and the Gentiles come in and tear your toilet paper or whatever, what is a Gentile? We're Gentiles. We were set aside. It's
Yeah.
not a race. We're
Yeah.
not a separate.
Well, but that's the idea. The word in Hebrew is goy. It's nation.
Yeah,
We
but I
were
mean,
a
what's the
nation.
difference?
Yeah.
I can understand if, let's say, all of us were a different color, let's say orange, okay? We'd be a different race and the people would see us. But uh, I could walk down the street and, or you certainly, because you could be from Florence or Northern Italy. There's nothing when you walk down the street. We're not a race. So the Shabbat is not for those people who are of a different race. There are Jews from China who look Chinese. There are Black Jews. What's it have to do with the race? So being set apart is anybody. It's so simple, but who
Yeah,
chooses to follow the only God of the universe
exactly.
should be
And the
keeping the Shabbat.
and the only thing we knew, we were steeped for over 200 years in pagan culture, just like we are in our country here. There's
Yeah.
paganism all around us. And God is so practical. Look what he said. Don't eat food after the third day. The consequences are you pay for the consequences. You're going to get sick because they had no refrigeration.
Right.
So it's not mystery, but and the only thing that people understood then was superstition. So if you do certain things, he was using their superstitious nature to say you will be cut off, you will be this or you'll be that, because there many of them they had the understanding of children. So God had to teach us in a way that we could understand. Mauricio, how are you? You have something to
Oh,
add?
so shalom to all of
Shabbat
you.
shalom.
Thank you. Well, you know, I was thinking in two things that Rabbi mentioned. One is the Kedoshim is you can compare with the Ten Commandments, okay? And that is true because the first three is about God, but the four to 10 is about relationship between humans. Okay.
Right, right,
Uh, in Kedoshim is like a continuation, or is like giving a more open explanation about the these seven commandments. About, for example, do not steal, for example, uh, or do not wish what is your neighbor's property, um, and things like that. Okay. And at the end, all these commandments resume in the idea of love your neighbor as yourself.
right.
Okay. And then this can be compared also with the Haftarah in this portion, because many of the prophets were talking uh, about justice. Okay, because as the idea I can capture from Rabbi, what if you are a very sane person, a super holy person from outside, but inside of you, okay, you are not really living the commandments. Okay, how many people, uh, the more religious people I met, the more uh, hatred people they were. Okay,
The more
because
what hated?
yeah, I hated.
Or
Yeah,
yeah,
I hated. For example, when we were kids.
yeah,
Okay, who was the one person we met, or the more religious person
yeah,
in a church, for example? That person always was shouting to you. Um, they tried that you were not kids. You need to stay inside a box and things like that. So in this is the for me the central idea of Kedoshim is about living, okay? Because doesn't it's not about knowledge. It's not about how pure I am. No, it's
right,
about how can I relate with other people,
right, right.
okay? In this context, uh, leads you to different perspectives, okay, for what I can see. Okay. Uh, First is that uh, Torah is practical, okay, is for a daily life,
Right.
okay. It's not a book of different rules that you need to fulfill in order to show to the people how holy you are. It's
Right.
not about that. It's about that, yes, you can be a normal person, but if you, for example, says good morning, you help people in your work, for example, you you um, you go in the streets and you are kind with vulnerable persons, okay, and things like that, then you are a living Torah, okay.
Right.
So it's beyond about uh, following rules, is about living a full life. In that sense, I was studying, and unfortunately this week we were closing 2 meals, so I was full of work, and so we couldn't have the Spanish class. But I was wondering why at the beginning of this parasha it talks about Azazel, okay, and it talks about presenting God. Uh, so there are two goats. One is for Azazel, okay, that brings all the bad things supposedly uh, to the desert or to empty space, and the other one has to be sacrificed or to be offered to God. Okay, so uh, you know, I was like, okay, God, why we are uh, putting to an animal are bad things? Okay, the poor animal doesn't have any um, guilt about my issues. Okay, about my problems. Okay,
Right.
and then why I have to kill the good one in supposedly the one that is with the bad things for me looking at as a human must be killed, okay, because supposedly we need to destroy our bad things, okay. So I was wondering about this because it's like the Torah. Well, first today we don't have to do things like that. But the idea is, okay, God is a God of life. Okay. So, so what I could understand is, as a cell means all the bad things we have today, we have to deal with that. We need to release them so they can fly away from us.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
For example, if I am a liar person, okay, that is about a habit. Okay. Uh, for me, one of the worst habit a person has is to lie. Uh, 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 you know, it's something that for me, as Mauricio, as a person, I do really don't like when people lies to me.
Right.
Okay, but that is about habit. Why? At least for Latin American people, it's very usual that Latin people likes to lie. Why? Because they want to avoid the punishment. Because in the past, if you say the truth, and that is something cultural, then your mother, instead to say, okay, you say the truth, now we're gonna make changes. No, they exploded. and they punish with some with a very hard precision physic work physic punishment
Okay.
to you, so that leads you to life. Okay,
Wow. Okay.
that is
Right.
something that at least we as a family broke in my house. Okay, why? Because we wanted to have kids that say the truth,
Right.
and then yes, have consequences, but not to destroy our kids. Okay,
Right. Right. To teach them.
it's just to teach them,
Right.
to make them they see what they did bad,
Right.
and then they have to fix what they did.
Right.
It's not about they don't have consequences. Okay,
Right.
but in our culture, 90%, 99%, they try to destroy their kids with punishment
Yeah.
for saying the truth.
Right.
So it's not a value for our culture to say the truth.
Right.
Even when in companies, people love trying to lie also.
Mm.
To say, oh, this is the results of the company. So everybody is happy because the results are very good. But at the end, when the counting goes inside, they can see how they make they were lying about numbers. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So uh, but imagine we are in El Salvador, then there is a person who has this problem, addictive to say lying. Because the problem of the lying, I don't know why I'm talking about lying, but but the problem of about lying is then is addiction to lie, to do not be discovered that I'm lying to another
Right.
person.
Right.
So I start to act. I start to show to the world I'm what I'm not, and so it's a very bad habit. But what God is telling me, I am a liar. I'm going to the desert. What is the desert? Is a place of nobody is around me. It's just me and God. Okay, so it's about introspection. It's about to see, oh, I am a liar. I need to change this. And what God asked me to do, to put my this energy of lying into this animal and send it away from me. Okay. So now what God is trying to teach us, okay, you don't need to fight against lying, because if I try for example, fight against lying, then sooner or later I will I will fall in the same problem, because I am putting as part of me. When I let the 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 lies goes away from me, okay, then I have an empty space to receive something good. And then what happens? There is another goat, okay, that I need to present, not to kill, but to present before God. And what is that? Oh God, I am offering this goat to you because I am a liar. Okay, that is the idea. Okay, and I need to grow up. Help me. Okay, and then when I when we sacrifice the animal before God, it's like I need to be there. Okay, instead of this goat, and then changes start to come in my mind. That is the idea at the end. So, um, in what is what is interesting about this? What makes you grow? offer to God, what what doesn't make you grow, standing away from you, very far away from you. Okay, so uh, in when I was studying this portion, uh, I was thinking uh, about how many bad habits I have, and then that I knew uh, sometimes I try to fight against things, but sometimes God is like telling us, do not fight against that, against these things, because consumes your energy, consumes you with guilty, consumes you that you are not able. Then comes, I cannot deal with this, and God. So your focus is about how bad you are. Okay. But instead to focus on this, God asks you to approach to Him.
Mm.
Okay. To come close to Him. So in then instantaneously, it's like changes start to come in your mind. Okay. Why? Because now you are not consuming your energies about fighting something that you cannot deal with.
Mhm.
Then you start to focus on different things that helps you to grow. And when you are focused on these things, you are not focused on how bad you are, then you will start to grow. And sometimes you look back and say, "Oh, I noticed that I'm not doing that anymore." Okay, because this is like, you know, I don't know if you have some kids when they are like 3 or 4 ages, for example. I remember that sometimes Pablo or Santi went to us to different it's not really a supermarket where a store and then they focus on a toy, for example, and I want this toy and start to cry, yeah, I want this. Okay, they are fighting because they are focused on they are so focused that they need to live with that toy. Okay, well, you can do two different things. One is to punish them. Oh, don't do that. Okay. And the other one is to focus them, the attention of them in different things. For example, oh, Pablo, have you seen that picture? Look, how beautiful. After 5 minutes, they forgot the toy. Okay. Because now they are focused on different things. And then you leave the store and they didn't even remember about the toy they desire too much. Okay.
Right.
So that is what I'm trying to say about how God is trying to teach us in this portion to live a Kedoshim life, a Kadosh life. And that is sometimes is about, for example, what God is trying to focus on this portion. Okay, honor your father. Okay, that is something that they said not to lie, not to steal, justice, or in business, do not oppress the weakness, love yourself, your neighbor as yourself, to treat the the person who comes from outside your country, okay, with justice, uh, to forbid so occultism practices. Um, and this is exactly what Amos wants to try to say. Okay. Um, he, he's trying to say do not be corruption. For example, corruption. What is the corruption at the end? Is to steal, is to rob, is that is corruption at the end. Okay, so it's a very same problem, but now is different presented to the society. Okay, um, and for example, um, what he says is important, the justice and moral in, in moral values. Okay, now is a problem, as the rabbi mentioned, the moral problem. People, uh, even for example, today people is like a robot. Okay, they don't care if it's moral or bad, whatever. It's like, oh, that's their problem. They try to solve, and they don't see that they are part of the problem. Okay, when you close your eyes to the injustice, that then sooner or later you will have problems as society and will affect you. That's why God is always telling us, okay, uh, uh, put the finger on the bad things to say that is not correct, that is not right. And also, um, that is something also from Amos that he says that Israel is not favored by God for being Israel, but for the behavior of them. Okay, so that gives you an idea of how important is before God your behavior. Okay, and, and this is not about if you are seen by others. It's about that you in your mind knows that God is always looking at you, and you know that you are looking to yourself. Okay, because that is another thing that is very important. So uh, that is for me the uh, the that love yourself is not something emotional. It's about concrete actions, honesty, empathy, and also limits, healthy limits. Okay, so that's what I believe I could say about this portion. And you know, also the second thing that makes me think on the Rabbi's speech was he mentioned, "Cursed be the man who trusts in man, and blessed be the man who trusts in God." And you know, maybe for some minutes, my mind just go away. Okay, uh, because probably uh, I've heard that many times, but today is like that is true because we cannot be confident even to ourselves. Because sometimes I used to see that cursed be the man who trusts in man, like the man who is outside from me, but also includes me.
Right. Because
So
we lie
because
to ourselves.
yeah, we're trying to put us in a pedestal. So we are trying.
Or the opposite. Or
Yeah.
we pull ourselves down. That's what happened, with me this week because I was so sick and I was so low. And I
Uh-huh.
got and the only thing that I could do was either to sleep or to watch TV. And I got caught in a series, and the series was almost like a soap opera. It took place in the early 1900s. The characters were very interesting.
Wow.
There was a woman, a Christian woman, who converted to Judaism to marry a Jewish man, and in the war, she ended up being caught. She and her husband were both fought for the resistance in Germany, in France, and they were arrested. And she went to a concentration camp, and she became a part of a family in Australia, and every single person in this, all their the decisions that they made, the choices that they made, led them from one lie into another, from one bad situation into another. And every single situation that we deal with today, homosexuality, abortion, freedom for women, every situation you can imagine was in this movie. And I was thinking of how the society that we're living in today is so horrible, it's so corrupt. And I thought of Yeshua, because he said to us, "You are in the world, but you're not of it." And I was looking at all the choices that I've had to make over the years. Because, as I said before, every one of us has to make choices every single day. And sometimes those choices are so difficult because there's a lot of gray. They're not all black and white, and you don't always know. And sometimes that I'm watching this program, it looks like they're making the right decisions, but not according to the Torah. That's why it's so important for us to read, to know what God thinks is right, because it's so easy to make the wrong decisions based on ourselves because of the paradigms that we've created in our own minds. So, and the more I got involved in this, the lower I became, the weaker I became. And until I started to think, I don't know anything anymore. I don't know right from wrong. And I was getting sicker and sicker and sicker, and until I was so down. And the only thing in that moment that I could do was to say, God, you'll have to lift me out of this. And then things just started to happen. I would get a phone call here, a phone call there. And then I watched God go to work in my life in a supernatural way, something that I could not do in that moment. Because it's very easy when you feel strong to have all the answers. But when you have no strength in you and all your resources are spent, are gone, the only thing we can do is look up. And that's how I know he's real, because he pulled me out of it. I remember in a book, which I don't agree with most of it anymore, The Pilgrim's Progress was one of the things that I read when I was involved in early Christianity in my walk with God. And he had fallen into what's called a slough of despond. It was like pool. A despond means you're so down, you can't pull yourself up. And the only thing that he could do in that moment was lift his arm up, and God pulled him out. And that's how I was this week. The only thing I could do was lift my arm up so that God could pull me out of this, because it didn't matter what anyone said. And I saw how easy it is for us to say to others who are going through a rough time, just pull yourself up. Sometimes we can't. And God is the only one who can do that with us. So our journey is learning how to be in this world, but not a part of it in every decision that we make. And that each of us has a little bit of the answer. And the only answers we have are really for ourselves. Because I look at the world and what's going on in the world, and it was like I was feeling what was called a universal angst. Do you know what angst means? It's like an anxiety that you feel because we're all connected. All humanity is connected. We are one human race, and there is only one God for all humanity. And I don't know what's going to pull us out of the mess that we're in, except God. We're just going to have to watch and wait, and all we can do is to find ways to be in the world and knowing that we're not of it. That's what I loved about the word kadosh. How many times have we felt, I'm so good, I'm so holy, I don't do what they do, That's what Rabbi was saying. Yeah, you don't do what they do, but you do other things that they don't do.
And
That
the
Kedo
opposite is also because, what you're saying, Mauricio, about not dwelling and dwelling on it. Oh, this is so terrible. I do this. I can't get over that. Blah, blah, blah. That's a kind of reverse self-absorption. And
Yes.
it's just as bad. It's almost the same thing. And I get into that
Yeah.
instead of, when the goat goes into the wilderness,
Yeah.
accept that it doesn't mean you're going to be perfect and never have those things again, but it's a waste of energy. And I've done that a lot because there's a particular incidents in my life that I find very hard to let go of some of the things I did. And so when people compliment me, like before, I almost don't hear it because,
Yeah.
oh, if they really knew what I've done, they wouldn't be complimenting me.
Right.
So, and I really mean that. It's not like, but we have to even say above that, if I keep dwelling on that, I'm not really walking with God.
Right.
I'm walking with like everyone else in the world who doesn't walk with God. What do I expect to happen? Just I'm like flagellating myself like
Yeah.
some religions do on these pilgrimages. They take branches and they hit themselves. And we do that, not realizing we're doing that. But when God says the goat has gone into the wilderness, the goat has gone into the wilderness.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We make ourselves into a molten calf. Yeah, really. And that God is giving us the way out, and we just have to say it. We just have to take it. And the issue is just the way the Israelites went around and around and around the mountain for 2 years before they set out into the desert. We go around that same mountain with ourselves because it's like peeling an onion. Just because I think I've dealt with something today doesn't mean that it's not going to come back. But we have to keep sending that animal, get out into the desert, leave me
How come
alone.
the animal was it only the Azazel? How come it wasn't used in the calf didn't, like, I don't understand what was specific about this situation. You know what I mean? Like, maybe I was just didn't hear it, but, um,
What do you
you
mean about Azazel?
yeah, is it just a sort of a picture, a one-time picture? Because what, like, you said a poor goat, what did the goat do? But it's like I guess it's just a picture of what when they did any of the other sacrifices, the bull that didn't send into they just most of them they killed them and ate them, no? Like anyway, maybe I'm
Yeah, the cell, what it means really is about a desolate place. Okay, is like a cliff supposedly, and the idea is that sins are removed from the community. Okay, and supposedly this goat takes, obviously it's not that is a
A metaphor.
magician.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's a
kind of
metaphor.
that. Yeah, it's just a metaphor. Okay, it's like because it supposedly this happened on Yom Kippur. Okay,
Right.
and it's like for the whole nation
no, I
because
forgot about the
there are many things that probably happened and nobody knew. Okay, can you imagine in 3 million people or 6 million people in the desert how many mistakes they made
Right.
between them?
Yeah.
Okay, and, no, and at that moment probably nobody could see the whole problems of the whole community. So it's like God here will deposit the whole mistakes we made as a nation, and please consider that this goat is 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 taking them to the desert to disappear or to jump into the cliff. Okay,
Yeah.
and so but the problem is that Christianism says that Azazel means the devil, but that is not for Judaism.
Right.
That is the idea is what I said. Okay, put the bad energies the mistakes you make, don't keep with you. Let them go. Okay,
Right.
that is
Yeah.
at the end of the idea. And also the as a cell meaning chaos or impurity. Okay, as mean strong, and also El means God, so is
Right.
God is strong. So is meaning like God is stronger than your problems. Okay, He
Right.
can make them flee away from you.
God
Okay,
gives, yeah, he gives us many pictures, like he gives us the red heifer.
yeah,
He gives us
yes,
the lamb for Pesach,
yes.
the golden calf, all these same type of pictures. It,
Hmm.
yeah,
So it's just uh, that that what doesn't make you grow is like give to God, and He will be like this goat to make them apart from you, okay, and let them go, okay, with the
yeah,
problems you have in the past. You
yeah.
know, one of the problem, and I remember Rabbi used to say that some of the problems that people have is that they cannot leave the past.
Let it go.
Yes.
Yeah,
So, you know, for me, it's difficult to say let it go because I associate with a picture. Okay. You know, you know, of these girls, frozen. That is the picture. So, but that is true. Okay. All the problems you don't have to carry.
right,
You know, one of the questions I made for people to contract them, okay, is you are walking into a road, okay, and suddenly you see a rock. What do you do with that rock? You know, this is something that I've learned from human resources when I studied, and this is a psychological question, okay? But the answer is, oh, I can, because hey, how is that rock? I don't know. Tell me you, how is the rock? And some of them say, oh, it's a very huge, big. So I stop and look at them. I entertain looking how big it is, or sometimes it's a rock. I put it in myself. Then another say I throw them away and things like that. And you know, that psychologically, this question is about what is a problem. Okay. What do you do, or how do you deal problems?
right,
And see, it's interesting because I remember that I contract many people because of their answer. And everybody at the moment of the when problems happen in the company, they act like they said to me with that rock. Okay, it's very quite interesting. But the thing is, what do you do with the problems? You keep them, okay? You are carrying them with you, okay? You try to give to another person your problems, or you just let them at that place, or put the problem away to avoid other persons
right,
can harm themselves. I don't know.
right,
So so this is what means as a cell for us. Okay. In that is for me is a very interesting picture because uh, I remember I used to carry my problems when I was kid. Okay. That made me shy. Okay. And then and someday I don't know what happened. It's God, honestly. It's like you need to face your problems.
Right.
and then you need to put your fears away and deal with the problems, and that helped me a lot. Okay, and you know, I met how many people that have the potential to be extraordinary persons, successful persons, but the problem is that don't they cannot deal with their problems. They are always saying that person was made to me. That person is the
Right.
problem.
Right.
So no, God put you in some way, sometimes as a cell presents not as a goat, but in different ways. Is just to say, okay, I put this here and I keep going.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Beautiful. Well, I want to wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for attending our Shabbat. I don't need to thank you actually for doing that. We give God all the glory for giving us his day when we can come and share and just really bask in his presence and know that he's with us at all times. Thank you for your input, Mauricio and Miriam. We wish everyone a wonderful rest of the day. Be well.
Shalom.
And
Oh,
as Rabbi
shalom.
would say, let it go.
Go.
There you go. Bye-bye.
Bye, Mauricio.
Bye.
Bye.
Shabbat
Good
shalom.
to see you.
Good to see you all.
Bye, Brian.
Bye, Brian.
Bye, Brian.
Oh, you look gorgeous, Brian.
Brian, we said Kaddish for your mummy today.
Yes.
All right, you take care. And we're praying for you for your surgery for next week. Bye-bye. Bye, Moshe.
Love you, Brian.
Love you.